What's up, YouTube? This is Bystander X79, guys. Today I'm coming to you with my latest deck profile video for August 2020. And today, guys, we're going to be looking at my updated Dinomist deck. Now, Dinomists are one of my favorite Pendulum archetypes of all time. They're a water tribute machine type deck. And that particular combination is just insane with the amount of tech cards and support cards you can actually start including into this deck. The deck is insanely customizable. Not only that, but the majority of the main deck are common cards, which makes it very easy to assemble this deck. You add in the fact that the pendulum scales offer another layer of protection that can really give your opponent hard times of getting over your cards. And all that said and done, the deck is just amazing. I'm just really kind of sad it never got to that meta tier 1 status that it really deserves. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into this. And of course, we're going to start off by talking about the scales, the scale 3 and the scale 6 effect. Now, this is the one thing that makes Dinomist unique among all of the Pendulum archetypes, because no other archetype has all the other scales of one particular scale have the same effect. Dinomist does it for both scales. For that scale 3 effect, if this card's face up in your pendulum zone and the opponent's going to destroy one of your Dinomist cards by battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. So it basically can protect your monsters and back row from being popped by your opponent. Not only that, but you have the scale 6, which is while this card is face up in your pendulum zone and your opponent activates a card effect that will target one of your Dinomist cards, you can negate that effect and destroy this card instead. So these cards offer a lot of protection just with their scales. And when you add in the effect of something like Dinomist Charge and be able to get the scale back into your hand, probably even during the same turn you're playing with this deck, that's pretty damn awesome, because you don't always have these effects live. They're not hard ones per turns, so they can activate during your turn, and you can just basically keep putting monsters into your scales and protecting your resources. Alright, with that being said, 2 copies of Dinomist Spinos. Spinos is your level 5 big boss monster of the deck. 2500 attack. While this card's in the field, you can tribute other Dinomist monsters except for itself to gain additional effects. One effect is basically it can attack twice, and the other effect is you can actually attack your opponent directly. Yes, you can attribute 2 Dinomist monsters to actually get both effects during your turn. So swinging twice into your opponent's life points directly, that's 5k damage. You add in a multiplier like, say, limiter removal. Yeah, that's going to be an OTK right there. So that's why we want this guy on the field. To help go into other plays, or just get bodies on the board so you can do other things, we have Dinomist Ceratops. As long as you control another Dinomist monster, you can special summon this card right from your hand to the field. Very awesome. Extra bodies can always do a lot of different things. Next up, we got 3 copies of Dinomist Plesios. Plesios, its monster effect is just insane. It has a continuous effect where basically for every Dinomist card you control, your opponent's monsters lose 100 attack for each of those Dinomist cards. So if you control this Plesios, the scales, a howling, and a charge, that's going to be 500 attack points all of your opponent's monsters will be losing. Get multiple copies on this field, and all of a sudden they're going to be losing a lot more. 2 copies of Plesios would basically be 600 points for each Plesios, which means 1200 total attack loss for all your opponent's monsters. And if you can get 3 on the field, oh man, that's going to up it to 2100. I can tell you right now, it's just insane what this deck can do, and just having Plesios in this deck helps so much with this. And the primary reason why we want Plesios is basically because we have 3 copies of Dinomist Terran. Terran is basically the Stratos of the deck. The only thing about it is that it has to destroy one of your opponent's monsters. That's why we have the attack reducing effect of Plesios in this deck. so we can get the monsters off the field and search out deck for the Dinomist cards we need, whether it be monster, spell, or trap. Coming up, we have both 2 copies of Dinomist Stegosaur and 2 copies of Ankylos. Typically, I'm using these guys mostly for their scale effects rather than their monster effects, although the monster effects do come up. Ankylos is the one that comes up the most, primarily because while this card is face up in the field and one of your Dinomist monsters destroys one of your opponent's monsters, it's going to be banished instead of sent to the graveyard. That's actually pretty damn awesome. You have Dinomist Stegosaur, one of your pendulum monsters is destroyed. You can actually destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Effect doesn't come up all that often. It's kind of niche, but to be honest, when it does come up, it can help you out to break apart boards. Furthermore, to help this deck get going, we're running 3 copies of Symphonic Warrior Guitar. Warrior Guitar, we're using this primarily for its scale effect. You discard 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, and you're special summoning another Symphonic Warrior, except for itself, from your deck to your field. And the Symphonic Warrior that you want to be summoning off of it is one of the 2 copies of Symphonic Warrior Mikes. What does Mikes do? Whenever it's summoned, you get an additional normal summon, and anytime you can get an additional normal summon during a turn, you need to take it and get a monster on the field, because extra monsters on the field means you can do extra things and hopefully get that win. Not only that, but it is a machine level 5, so it does synergize with the level 5 machine monsters that we already have in this deck, making it an absolute necessary pick. Now, to help disrupt your opponent during their turns, we got 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. She's pretty much self-explanatory. At this point, I'm also running 2 copies of Nibiru, since combo decks seem to be a little bit more relevant, where I'm starting to see more play in them. To be honest, you can easily swap this card out for things like Effect Valor or Ghost Worker if you want to turn around and change up the hand trap lineup a little bit. So there's that. We have 3 copies of Dinomist Charge. On activation, you get to search your deck for a Dinomist monster to add to your hand. And while this card's face up in the field, the first time a Dinomist monster will go from the field to your face up in your extra deck, it will be returned to your hand instead, which is actually pretty awesome. It can help circumnavigate the necessary use of Link monsters to get the Pendulum summon out your monsters. So that's actually a very useful effect. Of course, I mentioned this with Spinos. 2 copies of Limit Removal. Activate this card during your damage step. Doubles the attack points of all your machine type monsters, and you're basically going to be able to get over permanent monsters on your opponent's side of the field. It's a nasty little surprise for your opponent, and I guarantee you they won't like it. And then last but not least, we have 3 copies of Pot of Riches. Okay, Pot of Riches is essentially a Pot of Arborish, but just for Pendulum decks. What it does is it takes 3 Pendulum monsters from your face up in your extra deck or your graveyard, shuffles them back into your deck, and you draw 2 cards. A lot of people forget that this card exists, but it does help out this deck by recycling your resources, getting cards out of your extra deck back into your main, so you can continue to basically play the game. 2 copies of Dinomist Howling. Howling is actually an awesome trap card in this deck. When you activate it, you can place your scales from your deck to the field, so this can bypass things like Anti-Spell Fragrance or even Imperial Order, since it's placing and not activating, and from there you can actually then just be able to Pendulum Summon and start being able to break apart your opponent's boards. Up next, we got 3 copies of Floodgate Trap Hole. Floodgate Trap Hole is actually very, very, very useful trap card in this particular format, with all the monsters going onto the field in such a way you can actually flip this card and put all those monsters into face down defense position. And since Synchro Summoning, Exceed Summoning, and even Link Summoning require face up monsters, your opponent is pretty much screwed at that point. So this card can actually shut down things like the Utopic Zexal S0. It can stop the Synchro Engine from building forward, utilizing the tuners and non-tuner monsters to summon out Hyperfibrax. It's just got so many different applications, and it's just worth having. And last but not least, we got 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This card disengage monster effects. It can also negate back row effects if it's activated in the same column. So definitely worth having in this deck. That's it for the main. We're going to head right into the extra. Right? I am running the Cyber Dragon Infinity package. You have 1 copy of Nova, 1 copy of Infinity. Infinity is pretty much an Omni Negate, and it can slurp up any face-up monsters your opponent leaves on the field. So, hey, any Link monsters left unattended can basically allow this card to absorb it. I'm also prepared for the Dogmatica matchup. So we have Megaba, Nist, and another copy of Nova. When Maximus activates his effect, you send Nova and Nist. Nist will pop something off the field, hopefully than Maximus. And then Nova will basically allow you to summon up Megaba, which is an additional negate board. For the last rank 5 play, I'm actually running 1 copy of Drill Driver Vespinato. Vespinato is a new rank 5 Xyz monster from the Rise of the Duelist. It is a common card. And this card's actually pretty damn awesome. It takes 2 level 5 monsters, or you can use this card and rank up off of a used up rank 4 monster as well. So you have that play to actually get it out in multiple ways. It can inflict piercing damage, which is great when you're utilizing Floodgate Trap Hole in this deck. And if this card ever is destroyed by your opponent's card, you're actually going to be able to special summon a level 5 or lower machine monster from your graveyard back onto the field. So it does make sense to have this card when you have other Xyz monsters, detaching materials from them as costs, or sending cards from your hand to the graveyard to activate guitars. This card will help you get those cards back on the field and be able to continue to play your game. For some rank 4s, Traptic Rafflesia. This primarily the other reason why we're running 3 copies of Floodgate Trap Hole. Her effect takes 2 level 4 monsters to make her, and then basically detach a material to utilize her effect as the effect of Floodgate Trap Hole, which is actually pretty damn awesome. Just getting her on the field can cause so much problems for your opponent, and she's worth having in any extra deck. Also have Granite primarily in there to search out your Nibiru. Abyss Dweller. This is a Water Attribute deck. After all, 2 Water Attack monsters will get this card beefy by power, boosting all your other Water Attribute monsters by 500 attack. And then, of course, we are running the Bahamut Shark, and totally awesome package as well. 2 level 4 Water monsters will make Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark can then summon out Totally Awesome, which is another Omni Negate. Awesome can recycle itself back into your extra deck, so you can use Bahamut Shark's effect again to bring it back out. And once you use his second effect the second time, you can go into Vespinator as well. So you see how we're going with that. For links, we got IP Masquerena. She's just great in any extra deck. Allows you to link summon during your opponent's turn. And then from there you can go into the Nightmare package, allowing them not to be able to destroy by your card effects with IP's effect. Unicorn can spin cards off the field, back into your opponent's deck. Nightmare Phoenix can take care of back row. And of course, you could also go into Borrowlord Savage Dragon, or Borrowlord Sword Dragon, excuse me, not Savage. Borrowlord Sword Dragon, basically for another OTK capability on this deck. Just being able to cut monsters' attack in half and being able to swing big. Always an awesome thing. Guys, that is it for my updated Dinomist deck for August 2020 format. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe, enable notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Check out the description box below, find invite links to my Discord server. Join the conversation, we'd love to have you. Also find the links to my affiliates, tcgplayer.com, as well as sidedeckversus.com. Great resources for any Yu-Gi-Oh player. Follow me on social media, and guys, as always, until next time, peace.